All right, so here's what we're talking about. We're back on that YouTube. So, did we allow enough time for this plan that backfired on the postal on the USPS using banning non-domicile drivers to be loaded at certain facilities? So a little bit of that, we get a little bit of disruption in network, and all of a sudden we're reverting back to taking that plan away. Good morning, Ernie. How are you today, brother? So this just tells me that none of this, my people, is about safety. This, they start with the premises of let's stay ahead of the curve, in efforts to support this, support the new the government regulations and all of that. We are not going to load these guys at any of our facilities until they start having service failures, sort delays, and all of that. And then in the same breath, what we're talking about is, it's simply not worth it right now. So, and right now, I'm not willing to impact the service that bad. So this just tells me it's not about that. And again, we should have, my opinion, I think we should have allowed enough time for this to correct itself. We're going to go through some adjustments, but that's just in any trucking. It's you're going to have that. But again, those major carriers that hold those contracts, probably, right, their fleets are probably the majority of that. So what about getting different carriers? What about exploring those different opportunities? And so here we go. So this is what I'm talking about. The video yesterday was talking about, we confuse movement for progress. What happens to the people, the boots on the ground, the people making the decisions on a daily basis that are actually moving the needle? And and then here we go. We're just doing this circle and circle, and so we create a rule only not to follow it. So now let's come up with a different type of policy, that's going to do some kind of change. And the minute there's a little bit of hardship, let's just go ahead and reverse that. So again, I feel that we should have pushed through that a little bit further. But I also think that the next shoe that's going to drop, my people, is actually going to be a bigger one. I think underwriters at insurance companies are going to start actually, not insuring these guys. And once that happens, this reversal that they did is not going to be an option. And I think that's when you're really going to start to see some changes in the rates. You're going to really start to see, other key players step up that are qualified. But again, it's going to go through some growing pains, just like in anything else. But I'm actually, I can't say that I'm even surprised. I'm definitely disappointed to see something like this. Not that I want to see people get hurt. That's not what this is about. But it is about, if they're gonna do this, then let's do this. But just dying this slow death is just like, it's beyond me. Like, why are we willing to die this slow death when let's just pull this band-aid, right? So I do have a comment. Safety is only for pesky carriers. If shippers need cheap trucks, government will play along. Remember when PC from shipper was not legal? If you run out of hours, it caused the shipper delays. And 2 weeks later, hold up. And 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, now you can do it. So here we go. That's the problem when the shippers start to scream, regulations get, whatever regulations we set forth start to change. Regulations actually, get massaged into, okay, let's transition to this slowly. So on one hand, we have the government body saying this, Sean Duffy saying we need to do this immediately. This is a safety concern. Look, and social media is posting all of these accidents that are happening and just, amping everybody up. And now this doesn't get that much attention, right? So the idea is like, what changed this? If this two government body, right, United States Postal Service, is allowed to revert back. Why do they have an exemption? Why can they continue to use these non-domiciled CDL drivers, even if it is through a carrier? You absolutely know that you're still using these guys. And then the carrier is punished because, just like we mentioned yesterday, we had a guy with the English proficiency, right? It's on his PSP as a blemish, and it's also on his on the carriers is safer now. So everybody is getting points. It's getting documented. It's all going to be there. But how come they get this exemption? How come they are allowed to just revert back to the old ways and status quo? And now, when will they ever be ready? Right? So I'm pretty sure there's going to be some kind of exemption. The rest of the world can't play with those toys, but they're allowed actually to use it. So here we go, guys. This is the prime example of what I mean. We chase our tails. This is the prime example of what I mean. If as a whole in a trucking community, and it's really about safety, and everybody agreed to something, and why not? Let's just go do it. But instead, we play this blame game. We pass the burden onto a carrier. We pass the burden onto the actual owner operator who was using the resources allotted to him, right? He just kind of checked the box. He didn't create policy. He didn't create the loophole. That individual was just filling out a form, and okay, maybe there is some blame there, but it is a form that existed. It is just something that was there for the individual to get that CDL. So it's a combination of a little bit of everything. But at what point do we just cut the cord and we say, let's move forward? Like, we have to start moving forward at some point. And that's kind of what my video is about, man. I really wish they would have pushed through on this. Put a lot of that freight to the spot market. Start incorporating other carriers. If you're going to make some kind of adjustment, start whatever contractors you have, start dismantling them. Go look for the guys that have the qualified individuals to do this load. How about that? Like, now how long is this going to take to go into effect? uh you know um they said the USPS actually planned to delay this until January 1st. Um, but again, how real is that? By January 1st, I'm sure there's going to be other things that hit the news. Nobody's even going to pay attention to this anymore, and then it's just going to be business as usual with absolutely no change. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but I am trying to say that, like, this is always the MO. There's never It's this vicious circle that we do. So to elaborate on that, I think the greater change is going to come when insurance companies actually start to not insure these individuals, and those carriers that are offering those services and got that dedicated freight, right, are no longer going to have an option because of the insurance. So from the back end, there's going to be that struggle because I think it's not about service failures for them. No one's really going to care for them. The insurance company is really looking at it, as a fear of a nuclear verdict, simply because it's not just the accident itself, but in that courtroom, in front of 12 people, when you have a non-domicile CDL driver uh, causing a major accident, good luck. That's already going to be a major issue. And so, and just remember that. I wonder if they're ever going to bring this up when they said, and right now I'm not willing to impact service that bad. That means it's not on their priority list. That's what that means. At the end of the day, it's not really on that priority list. So it's also about I think it's about calling a spade a spade. Like, really, at the end of the day, I think change is going to come from, again, pressing a carrier, pressing the change from that end. Because once the term nuclear verdict comes into place, you know, uh, you're never going to get a fair shot to explain the accident or whatever may have transpired on facts. I think uh, a lot of what would happen next is people are just going to go pushing for corporate negligence, right? And why did you hire these guys, right? So that's not what's being said on here, right? So the USPS said, hey, forget about it. We're not going to do this. Let's just keep loading these non-domicile but CDL drivers. But where is their corporate negligence in that, right? Because we said it, they're trying to stay ahead of the curve to actually help stand by the new regulations and all of that. But But if somebody really wanted to say, hey, but isn't that corporate negligence? Because now you know. It's one thing that you didn't know, but you absolutely know. So here we are putting service levels in front of safety right here in front of our faces. And is anybody talking? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Um, and all it's going to take is one of those carriers that has these non-domicile CDLs where now USPS said it's okay, continue to load them. The minute something happens, I bet you that carrier is going to be alone. There's no going to be subsidized lawyer. There's no going to be none of that. Any kind of lawsuit, any kind of litigation that's going to come of that is going to be on that carrier. It will not go back to USPS. They're going to say that is a guy you vetted, that is a guy you decided to use, and now you still have the actual the accountability of what comes next. That carrier will be left holding that bag, and that's the actual crazy part about this. um you know it, it, we can't just decide when to actually use and implement a new process, because this is where the confusion comes in, right? This is the blame game. This is everybody. Is it the carrier? Is it the owner operator? Is it the shipper receiver? Is it the broker? We love to play this game, but if we just operate on logic and we had a little bit more tenacity on this, where if let's say collectively we decided to do this shit, right? So boom, we're gonna do this. Then we should have pushed through, allow the chips to fall, have a little bit of service failure, but that would naturally speed up the supply and demand, algorithm. So now you would have put some stuff on that load board. There's plenty of capacity that could have scooped that up, but we're just not allowing it, right? And at the very least, where is the backup carriers? You got this contracted freight, but are you scrubbing their files? Are they being audited? So because I know we will be. I know smaller carriers are. So we just got to level this playing field, and we got to be able to you know just operate within common sense, guys. So that's my high horse for today. I really think that we have to be paying attention to what's not being said. Right, we got to read between the lines, because if this was as serious as everything it's made out to be, social media is making everything this out to be, how come they are allowed to just bounce right back just because of service failures? So right here, a normal carrier would be hung out to dry if you said I was using a non-domicile CDL driver just to not have service failures. You would be deemed money hungry. You would be deemed evil. You would be villainized. You would be hung out to dry. But in this case, it's important. It's okay. And again, it's what happens next, because the carriers that are there, like, why do they are they even getting immunity or something like that? So this is all fine and dandy until something is actually going to go wrong, and then you're actually going to have another major problem. So guys, put it up in the comments. What do you think? Should they have stuck through and allowed the service failures to happen so that it can auto correct itself, so that by peak season, right? Because that peak season is around the corner. So don't think that has nothing to do with this, right? This is not the time to be playing that game. I mean, we're in October, November, December, right? It's right around the corner. This is the time for planning. I bet you those carriers are beefing up capacity, right? And they're beefing up capacity with what they know. So it's happening as we speak, and nobody's actually doing anything about it. So here we go, guys. So I'm interested to see what happens next with these insurance underwriters. I think that's where the real pressure comes, because that one is solely about money. And no insurance company is going to want to take the risk for these nuclear verdicts. No one's going to be in a courtroom wanting to defend that. So I just wonder how fast they're actually going to start. These underwriters are going to start creating these non-domicile drivers as officially as non-insurable, and you're going to have to get them off the road sooner than later. So I'm interested to see when that will happen. But aside from that, my people, please put it up in the comments. So Melvin, yeah, how you doing, sir? From your mouth to Dean WC. If he even knows who I am, man, I doubt it. But here we go. Um, so so here we go. So why do they get immunity and we don't? That's the major case, right? But for my other people, again, our show is not about venting like that. It's just about talking facts and what affects our trucking community, and it's about survival. It's about creating good opportunities for individuals to support their families and so forth, and just do good trucking. We made a couple videos about that. White hat trucking. It really affects the people that are trying to do the right thing. It really affects the people that are involved, leased onto carriers, owner operators who are actually trying to do it the right way. It really feels like we always end up getting the short end of the stick, and this is a prime example of what I'm saying, right? Anybody else, their contract would have been replaced. It's beyond me how there is no backup contractor, right? And if so, I would want to know how much, their biggest player, what is the percentage of the freight that they hold? Is it 90%, 80%? You should have at minimum, trucking 101, at least three carriers sharing that work. So if anybody try to do something like that, you could just disperse the other freight to those other carriers. Why would you put all your eggs in one basket? Now, I don't know how that is all set up, but it's just mind-boggling to me. I think there's plenty of brokers that can put that stuff on the boards, and you would have regular CDL holders who are within compliance hauling these loads at what? At the proper rate. And that's what I think that's what a lot of this has to it comes down to it, right? You're gonna have to pay for that. So do have a comment here. Next time you go pull some of that cheap dedicated freight, ask yourself if you're the right side. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So while that's getting dismantled, that's why I always say stay versatile. I wish they wouldn't have reversed that. I think we would have seen a spike in rates right away, especially because now you would have had real true capacity exit the market at a perfect time, because peak season is around the corner. I think this is also forward planning for them. This isn't just about right now. This is also about what's about to happen next in the next couple of months. So they're doing that. But again, just like the comment said, you want to be versatile. You want to be in a position where you can follow the freight, follow the rates. And so here we go, guys. Again, this is for owner operators and owner operators to be. We are a white hat carrier. We're trying to do it right because, again, we're looking at this bad boy in the long for the long run. So if you have similar thoughts to we do and our business thoughts align, definitely give us a call at 863-342-5171. And we're got recruiting on standby to take your call and let you know exactly all of the perks that we have in order to make you successful here with Voyager. And my first time owner operators, again, this is please check out our channel, Super Trucker Podcast on YouTube. Plenty of information and videos there to educate yourself about the industry. Details about how to get your first truck and everything that comes along with that, and what you should do and what you should not do, simply by we give you examples, never telling you what to do, but just giving you examples that we have gone through. Some we won, some we lost. Welcome to trucking. But at least they can all serve as a learning opportunity for you, so you're not making the same mistakes that others have made. And that's what this platform is. That's what that's what we're trying to cultivate in this community here, so that everybody can learn from each other on that regard. All right. But again, this does affect our industry. This was, I think, in my book, a missed opportunity. I really think that we should have just, pushed through those service failures. I think there would have been a nice adjustment for everybody else who's doing it the right way. But once again, Uncle Sam gets a pass, and we don't. We have to play by the rules. So here we go on that. For my first time owner operators, those guys that are looking, please put up in the comments, have you seen any other place to actually purchase these trucks? Because believe it or not, a lot of guys that are out there are actually looking at the opportunity to get themselves into a truck because things are shaking up. There's bound to be change, and so I do think that this is going to be in the favor of us, right? The carriers, the owner operators, the trucker. It's bound to make that shift. I mean, even today, got an orientation today. I got an orientation lined up tomorrow, so that means people are pushing forward and moving forward. I see some inventory on this low mountain. Again, we just watch them, and their trucks are going off the shelf, so they're pushing forward, which means people are expecting a positive change in the near future. um and even that, for my first time owner operators, I have guys who just called and said unfortunately they were not approved with the low mountain, but they were able to do aero truck sales out of Tampa. So there's plenty of resources out there for you to use. It's just a matter of making sure that you're doing your homework ahead of time. And then that way you're able to actually buy the best possible truck. We had a little bit of conversation of should a guy buy cash or not. I don't necessarily recommend that. I would not be afraid of a truck payment. The only time I would be, I'm not saying they're bad guys. I'm just kind of sharing the last few guys that I have had a phone call that are going to buy their trucks through SFI. I think they're a little too high, man. I don't think, I know they're too high. I think, I really think $1,000 a week just on the truck payment plus whatever incidentals. We're talking plates, permits, 22.9, how all that insurance, everything that comes along with that. $1,000 a week is going to be way too high. I think a strategic number is going to be around that $2,000 mark, and if you can get that bad boy like $2,000 all in, meaning with the insurance and everything I just discussed, that's going to be a winning formula for you. At least you're going to have that you're going to have a really good start. And then all that really needs to happen is you got to hurry up and get up under a load and get out there and start earning and create that cash flow to your business. I've had a few phone calls where the individual, they actually have the truck. They didn't just quite leave their job just yet, so the truck's in the driveway, and they're planning to make a move in January. They're just going to save up a little bit more. I don't necessarily agree with the plan like that, but again, each his own. I just think that when you're in it, you're in it. You can't be halfway in and halfway out. There's never a perfect time, but I believe once you buy that truck and you have it, you accelerated your plan. At that point, you are in it. You gotta go get it. You gotta go make it happen. You already have you already did the toughest part. The truck's in the driveway, or one of the toughest things. That truck's in the driveway. At that point, now you just gotta throw your work ethic on that, and you have to be able to get that bad boy out on the road as quick as possible. So that's why we talk about these plans. And what it is about this plan is actually knocking out all these details ahead of time. So, as you're purchasing this truck, we even got an individual looking to buy a truck, right? So what does he do? He applies, right? That application is good for 30 days, no big deal. But now he knows he can get that letter of intent. And so when he's shopping around, he got the letter of intent. Now one thing is at ease where he's going to go take this. So now when he does get the questions asked to him about his operations and how he's going to run and what is this and what does insurance cost, he's actually had this conversation already. So now it becomes a lot easier. And through this and through that, and talking with one of our recruiters and myself, he's developed, he's got a couple more resources in his pocket, right? He's got an ability to understand different places to get some insurance quotes. He's got the ability to, where's he going to get his plate? Is he going to buy his own? Is he going to use one of ours? All of these details are already hashed out and planned. And also in addition to that, it's okay to redesign a business plan. Just yesterday, I actually took a call. My guys from I want to say Orlando, and he's actually has the truck, bought the truck, and is in the process of doing his own authority and all of that. So guess what happens? The insurance spooks him. The quote, it's very, very high. And so he's like, I was told that I can actually lease onto someone and I should start that way. And should I go buy my trailer? Now, our videos that we do a lot of the times, guys, talks about this. And the reality is this is happening a lot more often than you think. There are plenty of guys that are out there that are going to start their own business. They have a little bit of capital. They busted their ass to get it. They have that good work ethic. But then they kind of get a little bit misguided through when they're purchasing the truck, right? Because everything is an upsell at that point. Hey, do your own authority. We'll charge you for this. You know, and look, you can get this, and now you have an ELD system, and call these guys, and everybody's referring everybody. But if you've never actually even booked a load, if he would have dropped that money on that insurance and he's never even booked a load, I'm not saying that it's out of this world and that he cannot do it. What I am saying is that he should walk before you got to walk before you could run. He could develop himself to get to that point by linking up with individuals or like carriers like Voyager Nation, right? So what he would do is he would come here, leverage the cargo and liability insurance at no cost to him. It's already embedded in the 75-25 split, right? He maintains his purchasing power in his pocket. He doesn't necessarily have to buy the trailer today, buy the insurance today, go get TMS software today, find a factoring company today. There's only 24 hours in a day. How can you do everything at once? So again, I get it. My people who have been in the game, and I've had people under our flag develop themselves and go do their own authority. Absolutely, yes, that's what you want to see. But what we don't want to see is that people rush it. And when they rush it, you get hurt. And what's going to happen is grand opening, grand closing. That's when it's hurtful. That's when the industry takes a hit. So that's what we're trying to avoid. Not saying he shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that he should have a nice little progression plan. As long as you're linked up with the right carrier, that's where we step in. 863-342-5171. Guys, give us a call, and we'll walk you through that whole entire process and what that looks like and what you should look out for, and ask you a couple questions, right? Because I did ask him in his eyes, in his mind, a couple uncomfortable questions, but they were only uncomfortable because he didn't have an answer for him because he didn't think about it. So it's not to highlight anything. It's really just about educating in that moment, because if you don't necessarily know, it's better to find out now than it's real when you already have insurance, you're spending money, the premium is due, the trailer, the payment, insurance on the trailer, and everything is freaking real. And now you're discovering you don't know the answers to these questions, right? It's going to cost you, potentially everything that you invested into the business. So that's what we're trying to avoid. And by doing so, is just by having a conversation and seeing where we can help and how you can leverage a lot of our resources, fuel cards, free parking, experienced dedicated dispatch team that knows exactly how to move your truck and how to how to get that money on that truck. This is not just about home time and rates. This is about your business plan, where you're trying to take this, to what level, and what you're willing to do to make that happen. So again, 863-342-5171. Give us a call. We're here to talk about that. And we're here to grow with you. So definitely, for sure, just kind of recapping, guys, put that in the comments if you can. What do you think about this USPS nightmare right there? Why were they allowed to continue using non-domicile CDLs? It's just broken. States are we blame the state blames FMCSA blames the carriers blame the driver blames, and the list goes on, and we're just doing circles. So I really wish in this event I wish they would have pushed through and allowed and just allow it to happen, where the laws of economics would have just balanced that, but unfortunately they threw a wrench in the game. So here we are, my people. A lot of people are getting affected by that. I think it's only a matter of time. How fast that is, I don't know. I guess it's trucking, right? Every day you're going to get a little bit more surprised than the day before, just like this. I really thought that you would see something different on this topic, but I guess not. So again, guys, what are you seeing out there? I even think that I heard somewhere that even the brokers are asking, for copies of the licenses and all of that. And And again, and maybe it's onesie twosies there, but I guess in an event like this where service failures happen, and it was so big that they're allowed to revert that. But I bet you nobody else gets that pass, because if a carrier starts to say, hey man, I'm having service failures to all my customers all over the place, this is a lot bigger than I thought, it's we underestimated this, that carrier will not be allowed to continue to use those non-domicile CDLs. Here we go. So this is not about safety. This is truly about the blame game. So I wonder where this takes us next. So nothing left to do but just keep an eye on the ball and see where this actually goes. But for the rest of us who are grinding, the rest of us who have to follow the rules to stay in business and actually be effective and try to make some money. Here we go. Give us a call at 863-342-5171. First time owner operators, that's our forte. Do give us a call, and seasoned owner operators as well. Let's go. Let's make this happen. We keep fighting the fight no matter what. Don't have any other choice but to make it through on the other side. All right, guys, stay with it. Stick to the grind. Keep your head low, and be safe out there. All right, my people. Until next time, be safe.